Hi everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how to kill the Arch-Glacor in normal mode, hard mode, and AFK. Here's the list of things that I'll be going over in this video. The Arch-Glacor's mechanics, the basic requirements to kill it and the gear that you'll need, the AFK setup, rewards, hard mode loot mechanics, a full kill walkthrough. The Arch-Glacor is a really fun boss and it's a great way for mid-level players to get up to speed and learn PvM. While not quite as rewarding as bosses like Zamorak or Karapak, the Arch-Glacor does have some really decent loot. If you'd like to see an example of this, check out my loot from 25 hours of one mechanic Arch-Glacor video. First, let's go into the mechanics of the fight. The Arch-Glacor is a modular boss that lets you pick which of its mechanics that you want to see in the fight. In addition to this, the Arch-Glacor has a normal and hard mode. Normal mode uses any number or none of the 5 toggleable mechanics, and hard mode uses all of the mechanics with a difficulty multiplier called Enrage, which scales from 0 to 4000%. This increases the difficulty from very easy to impossible for the vast majority of players. When entering the staging area for the Arch-Glacor, you'll get this menu. In normal mode, you can use the 5 toggle buttons at the top of your screen to turn the different mechanics on and off. Hard mode can be enabled by checking off the hard mode option on the menu. There are 6 main mechanics in the Arch-Glacor fight. Number 1 is Creeping Ice, which is the only mechanic that cannot be turned off. The Arch-Glacor's arena is a narrow aqueduct. Creeping Ice is a slowly moving ice wall that comes from one or both sides of the area, and only requires that you not get hit by it. Standing in place and letting the ice wall hit you will knock you over a tile and delay your next action. This mechanic only appears independently when having no other active mechanics on normal mode. Otherwise, it's used in conjunction with some of the next few mechanics. Mechanic number 2 is Flurry, where the Arch-Glacor will use all 3 combat styles with increased damage. When you see the dialog box that says the Arch-Glacor focuses its attacks, the Flurry mechanic has started. At low enrages, this is a pretty easy mechanic. When the Arch-Glacor slides its arms, pray against melee. When it raises its arm and creates a green particle effect, pray against ranged. And when it raises its arm very high without the green particle effect, pray against magic. In normal mode and low enraged hard mode, you only need to activate the proper protection prayer to deal with Flurry. At high enrages, you'll need to cycle through your defensive abilities to reduce the damage. Mechanic number 3 is Ice Pillars. Creeping Ice will push you to the right side of the area and 2 vertical ice beams will spawn. They'll follow you around and deal massive quick damage if they hit you, as well as take some of your adrenaline. In normal mode, 1 pillar will spawn on the left and 1 on the right side of the area. In hard mode, a 3rd pillar will spawn around the center of the aqueduct after a few seconds. You can tell exactly where the 3rd beam will spawn ahead of time by the little lightning strikes like this one. A good way to avoid the beams is to walk along the north side of the aqueduct, luring all the beams in that direction. When each of the beams is along the north side, run to the south and continue attacking the Glacor, or surge out of the area until they disappear if you're having trouble. If you're having a lot of trouble dealing with the beams, Barricade will completely protect you from their damage. The next mechanic is Exposed Core. This mechanic starts with the Arch-Glacor walling you in to the very center of the area, then laying down around you. Being in the vicinity of the core will cause rapid magic damage that increases over time. You'll need to quickly destroy one of the arms and get away from the core as fast as possible. The right arm, which is the one on the left, is weak to crush, and the left arm is weak to fire spells, though any style will work on both arms. In normal mode, each arm has 7k hit points. In hard mode, each arm will have 32.5k HP. At 2500% enrage, the arms will begin scaling to higher HP, but you won't have to worry about that just starting out. When the core attack first starts, you can easily out-soul split the damage, though you'll need to switch to protect or deflect magic when the damage begins to scale high. You should easily be able to DPS the arms down before the core becomes an issue. If you're having trouble, you can throw a Vuln Bomb as soon as the arms land for a little extra damage. Next is Frost Cannon. For this attack, the Arch-Glacor will either wall you into the left center, or right center of the arena and attack you with a super high hitting magic attack. In normal mode, this will charge and hit you one time for several thousand HP. In hard mode, The Glacier will hit you with 3 back-to-back magic hits, each of which can stun you if you're not under the effects of Freedom or Anticipate. The easiest way to deal with this mechanic in normal mode is to just resonate the hit. This completely negates the damage and heals you for it. In hard mode, you have a few options. The easiest option is just to pray Magic and use Devotion to negate all of the damage. Simply pray Magic, activate Devotion, and activate Anticipation or Freedom to avoid being stunned. This is the simplest way to deal with the mechanic, though Devotion will become useful against both the Exposed Core and Flurry special attacks at higher enrages. A mechanically more difficult option is to activate either Anticipation or Freedom first to avoid the stun, pray Magic, and either Reflect or Debilitate to reduce the damage of the first 2 hits. For the third and final hit, you can turn off Protect from Magic and activate Resonance to be healed back to full health. This requires some precise timing and practice, but is generally a better way of dealing with the mechanic. And lastly, there's the minion mechanic. On normal mode and hard mode at enrages of less than 250%, 4 minions are spawned. These have low HP and will spawn in a cluster. They block all damage to the Arch-Glacor, so quickly use AoE attacks to kill them. When the minions are killed, they leave behind unstable glaciate cores, which deal damage to the Arch-Glacor when clicked. If all minions are killed, each one will deal 1,249 damage. If any minions remain alive, each will only deal 50 damage. At enrages of 250% or higher in hard mode, a 5th bolstered glaciate will spawn in the center of the platform. This one has more hit points and doesn't always spawn clustered with the other minions. Like before, just kill the 5 before continuing to attack the boss. For ranged users, group up the minions and use mechanized chins and AoE abilities to quickly kill them all at once. With magic, use barrage spells, detonate, chain, and any other AoE attacks to kill them. With melee, a halberd ranged weapon will be really helpful when killing these. Bladed dive into the minions, then prioritize Hurricane, Smash, and Cleave. If that doesn't kill them, you can use Flurry or Greater Flurry to finish them off. If you're doing the Arch-Glacor at or above 2500% enrage, the minion's health will start scaling. So you'll need to use harder hitting AoE attacks such as mechanized chins with the Syrian Godbow spec. Here are the different creeping ice patterns, and which mechanics they correspond to. The blue areas are the creeping ice, and the white area is the walkable area that's left. If you're being locked to the middle west of the aqueduct, then the Arch-Glacor is about to use Frost Cannon. If you're being pushed to the very center, the mechanic could either be Frost Cannon or Exposed Core. If you're pushed to the middle east of the platform, then it's also Frost Cannon. And then the last one, if you're pushed all the way to the west side, then that's Pillars of Ice. Creeping Ice is also present for Flurry, but only in the far outer sides of the platform. When not using a special attack, the Arch-Glacor uses magic auto attacks. On normal mode and low enraged hard mode, these magic attacks won't deal very much damage. But they do scale with enrage, so they'll eventually be able to hit several thousand health through prayer. The Arch-Glacor will cycle through every special once before repeating again. The order is completely random, and the first mechanic is also random. After all 5 specials are cycled, a new random rotation of specials will begin. This can cause some issues if you get unlucky. For example, if Frost Cannon is the 5th special in a rotation, you can get back-to-back Frost Cannon attacks. For the first Frost Cannon, you can use Devotion or Resonance, leaving you needing to improvise for the second Frost Cannon. In this case, it's nice to have a power burst of Vitality for if your defensives are on cooldown. Stay aware of this and count mechanics, because you won't want to use all of your defensive abilities before a back-to-back cannon or Zerk right before minions. In terms of stats, normal mode Arch-Glacor scales between 60,000 health at 0 mechanics and 365,000 HP at 5 mechanics. In hard mode, the boss starts out at 370k HP at 0% enrage, and scales all the way up to 3.3 million HP at 4,000 enrage. With the health scaling that high, the fights here can last a really long time. To cope with the long fights, you'll need to learn Soul Split Flicking for higher enrages. The Arch-Glacor has a very slow attack speed, which gives you ample time to switch to Soul Split for healing between attacks. This will let high-level players get by without even using food here. If you've never Soul Split Flicked before, this is a great place to learn it and get better at it. Just pray against the Arch-Glacor's attacks, and then activate Soul Split after each attack. The Arch-Glacor has really obvious attack animations, so you'll have no issue knowing when to reactivate your protection prayers. If all of this sounds like a bit much, just keep in mind that deaths on normal mode kills only are completely safe, even for hardcore Ironmen. As far as requirements go for the Arch-Glacor, there's not much that you need at all if you're doing no mechanic normal mode. But the ceiling of gear and skill requirements is super high if you plan to do very high in rages. Because of this, I'll just be recommending a few nice things to have in the minimum tier of gear that you need for kills, and I'll also give some loadout examples. There are a few items that are nice to have at the Arch-Glacor. If you've completed As an Andros quest, you can charge your Pontifex Shadow Ring with 1000 Resonant Anima of Wind for an additional 10% increase in the effectiveness of protection prayers during the fight. This will help a lot if you're struggling with the Arch-Glacor's damage, though you'll need to wear the ring for the effect unless you've overcharged it with 5000 anima from each Elder God faction. Next is the Amulet of Souls or Essence of Finality. Both of these have the same additive 10% increased effectiveness for protection prayers. With this in the ring, you'll block 70% of the Arch-Glacor's damage if you're praying correctly. The Arch-Glacor is vulnerable to poison, so bringing Cinderbanes and Weapon Poison +++ will deal a massive amount of damage, especially as you climb in rages and the fights last a really long time. Now onto the minimum gear requirements. For 0 or 1 mechanic Arch-Glacor, you can get by with as low as level 60 weapons and armor, though you won't be killing the Arch-Glacor very efficiently. Level 70 to 75 or higher weapons will make 0 mechanic and 1 mechanic Arch-Glacor really easy. For normal mode at 4 mechanics or less, level 75 weapons and your best armor will work fine here. Level 65 or 70 power armor and level 80 weapons are okay for 5 mechanic normal mode. With this cheaper loadout, I was able to get a low to no food clear at 5 mechanics in about 4 minutes. This is just a set of Bandos armor, Warrior Ring, Elder Rune 2-hand sword, a Scripture of Jazz that I didn't activate, a Strength skill cape, and an Amulet of Souls. I did use Turmoil, but not Soul Split. This was with max combat stats of course, and normal overloads. Though your results won't be too much different with base 80 combat stats and the normal prayer book with combat prayers like Piety, Rigor, and Augury. Also, 5 mechanic Arch-Glacor just doesn't do that much damage, so swapping out the Amulet of Souls for something else would be fine. If you have the minion mechanic enabled, do make sure to bring a good weapon for AoE attacks, such as mechanized Chinchompas or 2-handed melee weapons. For starting out with hard mode Arch-Glacor, you can get by with tier 70 or tier 80 armor and tier 80 or higher weapons. For melee, a great starting weapon is the Laniakea Spear. This is a level 2 weapon that has tier 75 accuracy and tier 90 damage, as well as halberd range. This loadout here is the same as my 5 mechanic normal mode loadout, but with the spear replacing the Elder Rune 2-hand sword. The Arch-Glacor has somewhat low defenses and high affinities for all styles, so the tier 75 accuracy of the Laniakea Spear isn't a problem when paired with Turmoil and Overloads, especially not if you're using a Zerk aura. This spear is only 17 mil, does tier 90 damage, and has the 2-tile halberd range that you'll need for minions. For ranged, I found that the Decimation and Wyvern crossbow were really good here, even at somewhat high in rages. Either of those paired with mechanized Chinchompas and an offhand as a switch for minions will be great, even up to the high hundreds or low 1000% in rage. For magic, a wand and orb of this Cyware Elders work very well for their price. Of course, tier 90 and higher weapons and armor are the best, but you can do very well at the Arch-Glacor with much less. Ranged is probably the best style here because of the new Elder God arrows, high magic defense, long attack range, and chins. Magic is decent, especially when using Crypt Bloom at higher in rages. And melee is the worst style here. If you're using melee, you'll be weak to the Glacier's magic attacks, be limited in AoE damage, and especially vulnerable to the Ice Pillar special attack. With that in mind, the most important thing is just to bring your best gear and properly handle the mechanics, and then you'll do just fine. Now that I've gone over the mechanics and gear, I'll give a real quick overview of AFKing the Arch-Glacor. The requirements are a little bit higher for this. You'll need Soul Split, so at least 92 prayer and 80 plus combat stats. For AFKing, you will only be doing 1 mechanic on normal mode, Flurry. 1 mechanic is better than 0 mechanics for AFKing because the quality of drops scales with the number of mechanics. Zero mechanics would mean you get trash drops, and it's very difficult to AFK any two mechanics efficiently, so one mechanic is the sweet spot. In normal mode, with one mechanic active, the Arch-Glacor does very little damage, even when using the Flurry mechanic. You'll easily be able to out-heal using Soul Split or maybe even a Scrimshaw of Vampirism if you're using melee. The loot value is a little bit low when doing one mechanic Arch-Glacor, so it's best to cheap out and not use overloads or damage increasing prayers. In my loot from 25 hours of one mechanic Arch-Glacor video, I used a Seismic Wand, Orb of the Cybler Elders, a Zuck Magic Cape, Blood Amulet of Fury, Cinderbanes, Superior Skeletal Armor, and a Scripture of Jazz. And here's the revo bar I used. With all of this, I was able to get about 47.2 kills per hour on average. Downgrading the Seismic Wand to a Cyber Wand will only be about 3 or 4 less kills per hour from what I found. There really isn't too much to say on AFKing here, honestly. As long as you have Soul Split and tier 80 or higher weapons, you really can't do this wrong. This is pretty easily done with any style. Just bring a low upkeep cost set of gear, a good weapon, and camp Soul Split. Any tier 80 or higher weapons will get you a decent amount of kills per hour with a good revo bar. For those, I'll link the RuneScape Wiki's full list of recommended revo bars for bossing down below, which has revo bars for two-handed and dual wielding for each style. At one mechanic, the Arch-Glacor does almost no damage and has low HP. Just sit back and wait for the kills to come in, and then pick up your loot. The Arch-Glacor can be a very rewarding boss. In terms of uniques, it drops the high value Scripture of Wind, which is currently going for almost 90 mil, and the Ling Artifact, which is used to upgrade different pair of tier 90 gloves and has a virtual value of around 40 to 50 mil. Additionally, there are Dark Nylas, which are somewhat rare components to the tier 85 Ice Swords and tier 95 Ling Swords. Glacor Remnants, which are used to craft various items along with Nillas. And finally, there's the Frozen Core of Ling, which is only available from hard mode and is used to upgrade the tier 85 swords to tier 95. Other than those uniques, Jagex got real creative and basically just made the Arch-Glacor drop a bunch of blue stuff. In normal mode, you'll get 3 loot drops from each kill, which will spawn in the center of the aqueduct. Scripture and Ling Artifact are only available in doing either 5 mechanic normal mode or hard mode. In 5 mechanic hard mode, these have a 1 in 500 drop rate. The common drops scale in number and quality as you increase the number of mechanics. In hard mode, upon killing the Arch-Glacor, 1 loot drop will be rolled and placed into a chest. You'll have the option to take all of your loot in the chest or continuing a kill streak, which increases your enrage by a few percent. As your kill streak and enrage increase, and so also the difficulty of the fight, the loot you get will be more valuable and you'll have better chances to get unique drops. When streaking, you're risking the loot that you've gotten along the way. If you die while on a streak, you lose all of the loot in your chest, except for 5% of each stack of items for each kill in a streak up to 75% max. So at a 2 kill streak, if you die, you lose 90% of each stack of item in the loot chest. At 15 kills or higher, you'd only lose 25% of each stack in your loot chest. This calculation always rounds down, so you have a stack of 1 item, it will always be lost when dying on a streak. In addition to streaking and enrage, wearing a tier 4 luck ring when rolling loot will increase the number of items in the loot by a small amount. At low kill streaks and enrage, you have a very low unique drop chance. On a 1 kill streak at 100% enrage, there's about a 1 in 500 drop rate for any unique. On a 1 kill streak at 500% enrage, there's a 1 in 166 chance for any unique. At 1500% enrage on a 25 kill streak, there's about a 1 in 60 chance of getting a unique drop. With this in mind, the commonly accepted method to farm drops is to just streak to as high of an enrage as you efficiently can. When successfully rolling a unique in hard mode, there's a 1 in 5 chance for it to be a Frozen Core of Ling, and a 2 in 5 chance for both the Ling Artifact and Scripture of Wind. And the last of the looting mechanics. If you have a fully upgraded Pontifex Shadow Ring, your drop rate for uniques goes up by 2%. I'll do a real quick talk through of a kill here. You can see the creeping eyes coming from both sides towards the middle. That means this is either going to be a Frost Cannon or Frozen Core. It's a Frozen Core, so I need to quickly destroy the arm and get away from it. And now I have a chance to DPS the boss down. It says the Arch-Glacor focuses its attacks. That means this is Flurry. It's going in for a swipe. That's a melee attack. When it raises its arm above the screen, that's a magic attack. You can see the green particle effect on its raised arm. That means a ranged attack. Pay attention to my overhead prayer. I'm only praying long enough to deflect the attack, and then I'm switching back to Soul Split to regain some health. This is Frost Cannon. I'm activating Anticipation so I don't get bound, switching to deflect magic, and then activating Devotion. I'm taking no damage and can continue to DPS the boss. Now the creeping ice is pushing me to the right side. That means this is ice pillars. Watch for the lightning strikes, that's where the beams will spawn. Now I just need to avoid the pillars. I'm hugging the north side to lead them over in this direction. That leaves me some space in the south so I can go attack the Arch-Glacor. And that's the Arch-Glacor summoning minions, so now I can't do any damage to it. I don't have any chins, so I'll take out the minions as fast as I can. Now that all the minions are dead, I can click on their cores to do a ton of damage to the Arch-Glacor. Now that I've gotten through all 5 mechanics, a new random cycle of the 5 is going to start again. And here's Frost Cannon. I'll continue surviving through the mechanics, dealing damage until the boss is dead. If you want to see some more real-time kills without a talk through, there are links to a 5 mechanic normal mode kill and a couple of 500% enrage kills down below. If you're having trouble, I recommend to watch those videos at a slowed down speed to see what's happening at a digestible rate. And that's it for this guide. I wish you all the best of luck on your Link Sword grinds. A few of you have asked for more low to mid-level game guides and content. I'm trying that out. I'll be putting out some guides for more skills and some low-level bosses in the near future, as well as gear and equipment guides for those of you looking to get into PVM for the first time on a budget. Thanks for watching and see you later.